Welcome everyone to part 6, Automate Cumulative Predictions. In this video, we're going to complete this exercise, which asks us to write a function that returns the cumulative predicted values starting with the first day after the last date used in the model. Importantly, we are going to return a series with an index that has the correct dates. So if we take a look at the function signature, we must know the last actual value. So the last cumulative value that is known before our model makes a prediction. And then we're going to get the array of daily predicted values. So this is straight from the last video. And obviously the last date. And then we're going to use that information to create a series of the cumulative predictions. So let's go back up to our graph to help us understand what's going on. So as you can see here, the green is actually almost exactly what we need to return. So you might be wondering, why do we need to use the daily predicted values from before? Why can't we just use the model directly? So the problem with using the model directly is that we already know the very last date. So that is a known value. Our model on that last date will have a different value and could be substantially different than the known value. So instead of just using our model directly, what we'll do is we will use the daily predicted values. So even if our model is substantially off, we're going to add to the last known value the next predicted daily value. So we already have a known starting point, and instead of just going from our model, which will likely be off that known starting point, we'll just begin from the known starting point and be able to get better predictions that way. Okay, so let's hop down here. So if we were given the last actual value, and these are the daily values, what we can do here is, this will be the cumulative. We'll take the last actual value, or the last known value, and we're going to add it to the daily values, but we're going to take the cumulative sum here. So this is going to be a NumPy array. And so taking the cumulative sum, we'll just add the last known value to each one of those, and that'll give us the predicted cumulative values. Now what we need to do here is get the correct index here. So we're going to return this as a series. So we're going to turn this into a series. We have the predicted values as an array. So let's just go ahead and see what this returns. I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And again, we're using our Texas series. So this is the last known value. That was when the model was built up until this date. So we're going to pass it into our function, which we just entered into our namespace. And we're going to give it the predicted values that we calculated from the last video. And here we're just showing the tail. And here we can show the head of the series. And as you can see, it gets much, much larger because these are cumulative values. So what we need to do here is go from, not from May 15th, but from May 16th all the way to the end. So the very first, we just have default values for the index right now. So what we'll need to do is we will need to make this very first index May 16th. Okay, so the way to make the a date range is with actually the date range function in pandas. And that's why you have the last date here. And so what we could do is do the date range, and then there's a periods parameter here, where we can give it the number of items we want to predict, and that is just the number of predicted values that we already have. This is going to be just the length of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that and then run this again. And we actually didn't put the, say, index equals this index. Now the only thing here is that we are off by 1. So this is actually the last known date. So we need to shift this up to May 16th. And there are a couple of ways to do this. So the last date, what we could do, and if we're going to assume this is a string, we can just write over it, but we can say, we'll turn it into a timestamp, and then we will add 1 day. So we're going to use pandas here. So the beginning will not just be the very first date, but actually the very first day of the prediction. That's what it says here. The first day after the last date used. So we'll just update what that value is, and now we will get our prediction correctly labeled. And the tail, well, that'll be however many days the Y predict daily. So when we look back up here in the last video, we said for the next 50 days. So that's where we get these values. So it actually used exactly these values and just tack them on to the end of the last known value. Okay, so that's how we can automate the cumulative predictions.